and we want to recognize relationships to produce equivalent expressions. So we still have the steps that we want to follow. First one, if there's any greatest common factors, we want to factor that out. We want to make the A value positive, count the terms. So that's where we're at. In this case, we have, for these examples, we're going to have four terms. Use parentheses to create smaller groups. Use the GCF of each small group to create equal binomials, and then factor the binomial out. So if we look at what we have here, we can see that each one of these has an x in them, and each one of these is also divisible by 5. So let's factor out a 5, and we can factor out an x squared out of all of these. So we have 5x squared here. 30 divided by 5 is 6. X to the 5th divided by x squared is x cubed. Minus 40 divided by 5 is 8. X to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared. Negative 45 divided by 5 is negative 9. And then we have 1x left over. And 60 divided by 5 is plus 12. And if we look, we can see that we have our new 4 terms. And now we can factor by grouping here. So we're going to make the first group, which is 6x cubed minus 8x squared. And then our second group, negative x plus 12. What do we have in common between these two? They're both even, so I can definitely divide out a 2. So that's what I'll do. I'll divide out a 2. And x squared is the smallest variable, so we'll take out an x squared. Still have to account for the original 5x squared. So we have the original 5x squared out front. Then we have to take in account to the 2x squared. And now we have to see what is left in the parentheses. 6 divided by 2 is 3. X cubed divided by x squared is x. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. And x squared divided by x squared, those cancel each other out. So this parenthesis ends this section. And then we have one more parenthesis here. So now we factored the 2x squared out of this first binomial. So we're trying to match, what we're trying to do is we're trying to match this right here. So we're trying to match 3x minus 4. But we have a negative 9. So how do we make negative 9 become positive 3? Well, we have to divide by negative 3. So we're going to factor a negative 3 out. We already have 1x and we have 1x, so we don't have to take any variables out, so that works out. So negative 9 divided by negative 3 is positive 3. X, we don't have anything to cancel that, so the x comes down. And 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. So this parenthesis right here goes with the parenthesis all the way over there on the left. So I'm going to change my color ink here. This is the blue parenthesis and the blue parenthesis there. Those are the same. So really, the only thing that we're focusing on factoring by grouping is what's inside this parenthesis. This 5x squared, we're just going to leave outside there. So I'm going to write down the 5x squared again, because that has to stay because we factored it out already. And now we can look at these both have the same binomial, 3x minus 4 and 3x minus 4. So we're going to factor the 3x minus 4 out. It's not going to go outside of the blue parenthesis, though. We still need to keep that blue parenthesis there. And so the 3x minus 4 goes out front. Now, from this term right here, 2x squared times 3x minus 4, we factored out the 3x minus 4. So what's left is 2x squared. Okay. We still have the minus sign. We have to bring that down. But we factored out the 3x minus 4. The 3x minus 4 is there. And now we're left with minus 3. And so that is in the most factored form. We can take a look at the next example. We have 2v to the fifth, 4v to the fourth, plus 6v to the third, plus 12v squared. And again, we can take a look and we can see that these all have v squared, or at least one v in it, and v squared is the lowest, so we can factor out a v squared. Also, we notice that these are all divisible by 2, so we can factor out a 2. So we'll write it down. We have 2v squared. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we don't need to write that down. V to the fifth divided by v squared, we have a v cubed left. 4 divided by 2, that is 2. V to the fourth divided by v squared is v squared. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And v cubed divided by v squared is v. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And v squared divided by v squared is, they cancel each other out, and so it's just 6. So now we have this 2v squared. If we distribute it back into all 4 of these terms, we'll end up with the original equation. Now we're going to create some groupings, and we're going to group. So now we can see if there's any terms in there that we can factor out. With the coefficients, we have a 1 here and a 2 here, so there's nothing in common. So we can't factor out any of the coefficients, but we can factor out a v squared. So the 2v squared that we previously factored out stays. And that is going to be outside of the grouping, which we're factoring now. So v cubed divided by v squared, the v squared comes out front, and then we're just left with v. And 2v squared divided by v squared, we're just left with 2. Now, we only have the variable with the 1, understood 1 in front. How do we make 3 become 1? This should be a v, not an x. It's a v variable. How to make 3 become 1? Well, we have to factor a 3 out. So we're going to factor out a positive 3. Three divided by 3 is 1, and then the v is left. 6 divided by 3 is positive 2. And then we have to end the parenthesis we factor out that original 2v, so we have to end that parenthesis, and we will do that with the blue pen. So now we can see that we have a v squared and a v squared that are common between these two terms, separated by that addition. So we're going to factor the v squared out, or v plus 2 out. It's not v squared, it's v plus 2, not v squared. The 2v squared stays out front. and we factored out the v plus 2 out of this first term. So we factored that v plus 2 out. We're still left with the v squared. Now we come to the plus sign. We factored the v plus 2 out. That's right there. And then we're still left with the 3. And so this is the most factored